I was a crime journalist in the UK and reported on drug cartels, on gangsters, clubland. It's a good background for running a fast-paced, fast-moving, content-focused PR and communications company.
How is it possible with 15 years of doing business that you've never had a really shit time?
We would celebrate if we'd lost 5% sales.
You work hard, get the money, get the success. I'm joined today by Gregg. Gregg is a friend of mine from Paddle. That's where I met Gregg. Once again, the Paddle Network delivers. Gregg is the founder and owner of 7 Media, a highly reputed firm with about 120 strategists, creatives, storytellers, production guys. I mean, Gregg has pretty much everybody in there. If you want anything from a PR, media, marketing, digital perspective, Gregg is the guy to go to. In the UAE specifically, some of the companies Gregg works with are massive and they are governmental contracts. And I'm really excited to talk to Gregg today because I love business stories. I love people who have success in the UAE. And I just love learning more about how exactly did you get these contracts and you get these clients, you get to this size. Now, Gregg, thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you. I hope I can live up to the expectations.
I think, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. I listened to your podcast that you did with the gentleman from the HR guy that was doing executive. I found it quite interesting. One of the things I noted is that you said, I didn't have a lot of bad times, only sort of like, well, it's okay. Even COVID was a repositioning for us and we looked under the hood and, did everything right. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a few businesses. I've had some bad times. What would you say your success is really down to? Like, how is it just a way for you to manage these bad times? They're not bad times. You turn them into learnings. Like, how is it possible with 15 years of doing business that you've never had a really shit time?
I think the starting point for that is we never took any major risks. So even when we launched 7 Media, I never took any finance. I saved up from my own salary, as did my business partner, over a couple of years. We had money to put in the pot, enough to pay us, and it's a service-based industry, so it's not like we're doing manufacturing where you have to go out with cash before you come in. So that provides quite a level of comfort. And we also didn't have any major aspirations to grow to the size and the scale that we are now at the start. So it didn't feel pressurized. We were just enjoying it. So you kind of grew incrementally because of the connections I had with the government and semi-government organisations that I'd worked with while I was a journalist for Abu Dhabi Media and the National. Before launching 7 Media, we had kind of ready-made clients. So we had a really strong foundation to grow, and it was always about growing that sensibly and sustainably, and that kind of protects you from those really bad times, I think.
When you came here for the first time, obviously as a journalist, what was the first thing from a cultural perspective that just shocked you compared to where you were from?
I think I had some knowledge of the place because I'd been and visited Dubai before. My business partner was already working here. He was involved in a media startup. So I'd kind of come over, and at that time I was a journalist in the UK. I had a good job. I was enjoying it. But, you could just feel bits of opportunity here. I would sort of go out and, it was just exciting. But I never had any great need to move here. But when the opportunity came up, I got a call to see if I wanted to be one of the launch editors of the National, probably the world's last ever significant proper budget print title to launch. It was a great opportunity. In the UK, we were managing decline in media. I mean, advertising revenues were down. They were dropping and dropping. Print newspaper sales were dropping. There was a move to online, but the media industry, the news media industry, had not worked out how to successfully monetize digital first publishing. So people were buying fewer newspapers. So newspaper sales were down. Ad revenues were down. We would celebrate if we'd lost 5% sales year on year in a particular month because it wasn't 12%. Here was the exact opposite. This was an emerging economy with a quantum of oil money in order to fund it to be world class. So that was my perception, that kind of positivity. I think from a community perspective, it surprised me in a positive way. So I arrived here and people were very willing to do things like lend you a car or give you some old furniture, because I feel like every expat had been new at one point. So there's that kind of pay it forward thing where everybody helped each other. And yeah, I felt that there was a really nice sense of community. It was perhaps a bit smaller than it is now as well, and you make contacts very quickly and friends, and everyone had this sort of shared spirit and a spirit of optimism and positivity that was definitely lacking in the country I come from.
Also, we went from 1.8 million people in Dubai to 4 in the last 10 years. So obviously that's going to bring up competition, new people. I can tell you that when I do an ad on LinkedIn right now for a job posting or for finance or accounting, I get 5,000 applicants for 200 dirhams in less than a week.
Yeah.
This is 8 years ago was not the case. Yeah, it's definitely, there was a lot, but not this much. I think also global talent is really attracted to being here in Dubai.
Yeah.
So when you arrived, you straight away went to work for the National,
Yes.
right? And how long did you stay there?
Well, I arrived in 2007, and we were then working on the pre-launch phase of the newspaper. So it was hiring the staff. I was working on the editorial policies, understanding the kind of narrative of the country, of the nation, where that fits into the GCC narrative and how that kind of joins up geopolitically and globally. So we did 6 months of that, and that was preparatory work, and launched the newspaper in April 2008. Prior to that, we were dry running the newspaper in the printing presses, but not giving it out to anybody, literally improving it day on day, the news gathering experience, the workflows, the quality of the photography, the images, the design, all of those different things. Whether we could change up press at 2 a.m. if something happened late at night for the print product. So all of those kind of and that testing phase takes a while. We didn't have a name for the National until about 6 weeks before it actually launched. We were just calling it the newspaper. We didn't know what it was going to be called. And then April 2008, we actually launched the first edition that went out into the shops and by subscription and into the offices and everywhere. And I was the national editor, so that meant that I had responsibility for basically the first 20 pages of the newspaper, all of the domestic news, managing all of the reporters and the journalists.
This might be controversial, but there are some minds that feel that the UAE media or newspapers are censored and that not all of the real news goes out. What's your take on that?
In the National, we had kind of guide rails, as everybody would at any news organization in the world. You have editorial policies. The National was about purposeful storytelling. It did have a mission. Its mission, in part, was to put the UAE on the map, to create a quality piece of societal infrastructure, which is a newspaper. Almost everything that happens in the UAE is a building block towards something bigger, and you'd be stupid to think that the National wasn't part of that. And within that, you want to accurately reflect and audit how far the UAE is going on the route to Plan 2030, hold certain things accountable. And that was the remit from leadership, that we had to hold things accountable. There was no censorship, but we were very clear in what we were there to do. So big controversial voices weren't hired. It was to bring in people who had the sensibilities of quality journalism and could apply that to quality storytelling.
So you were at the National, you were working, obviously you were in an editorial position, so it's kind of that senior management that is business ownership, and then in general you're responsible for the outcome. And then you decided to start something on your own.
7 Media launched on April the 1st, 2010, April Fool's Day. So we, and
Is that on purpose?
no, I don't really know whether it was April the 1st. It was around that point, but it was definitely April. While sitting on that news desk, and I'd understood the story of the UAE very, very well by then. I mean, you're doing it, you're living and breathing it every minute of every day. You're taking advice, you're making contacts. So I knew some fairly senior people across the UAE, and I felt that what we were doing at the National wasn't really being reflected in comms companies, in PR, in media relations. So I thought that there was a place for me to take that kind of storytelling expertise. My business partner, Matt, he was head of sport content at the National. We'd been reporting on the launch of the Formula One track, the acquisition of Manchester City Football Club, successful green shoots coming out of the global financial crisis, the whole DP World story, so many different things that we felt that if we launched our own consultancy, us two and two of our Arabic directors who are still with us today, actually, take what we were doing in the National and then do that wider locally, regionally and internationally, helping to accurately unpackage and reflect that Abu Dhabi story and that UAE story. So that's why we did it, and it went from there.
When you're sitting in the National and you're going, this is great, I love it. When you wanted to switch and you saw that gap, was it because you were missing the excitement of being a crime journalist?
No, I think, to be honest with you, I think when you launch a PR company, you will always miss the spirit of the newsroom. I'd been a journalist all my life. You know, ultimately, it's all storytelling. But there's something about the buzz of daily news. It's hard to replicate. Now, today in Seven Media, because again, the media industry has changed and it is a 24/7 news cycle with digital at the center of everything, social media, emerging media. You've kind of got that excitement back, and PR right now is at the center of that wheel, and you know, your content is feeding through the spokes into that kind of media world. But at the time, I was concerned that I would lose the excitement of working in a newsroom. There's no place on earth like a newsroom. It's mental, but it's brilliant. And as you quite rightly said, prior to that, I was a crime journalist in the UK, and that was a hell of an experience. I'd reported on drug cartels, on gangsters, on clubland, got myself in some kind of dangerous situations at times, but it was great. It was a great buzz. And then after I did that, I was the crime reporter of the Liverpool Echo. I then became a news editor, and at that point, that was a 6th edition daily evening newspaper. So you would have to become an expert really quickly on multiple different stories, and you place them in a newspaper. They have to be accurate, have to be well sourced, and you have to then be a human sponge that then puts these stories out. So that kind of sets you up well to run an agency that has scores, hundreds of clients and projects ongoing at any one time, where you have to amplify something with, you know, real political meaning, or sometimes fun tabloidy approach to a fast food brand or something like that. You've got to be able to switch your mind really quickly. So all that background of being a crime journalist, of being a news editor on a 6th edition daily, of running the National was a bit more thoughtful, as well as having the high pressure of having 20 broadsheet news pages to fill every single day, with no real news wires and no quality PR companies feeding your stories. You had to start from scratch every morning when you wake up. Clearly, that's not quite true, because you plan things well and you have banks of features and ideas of things that you're going to be investigating in the coming weeks and months. But it's a good background for running a fast-paced, fast-moving, content-focused PR and communications company.
Do you consider yourself a jack of all trades or more of a specialist?
Jack of all trades. And I think it stands us in good stead. If you look at some of the recent clients that we've got in the areas of Web3, emerging technologies, there's a load of different, or pick anything, fintech, banking sector. That's not my background, but I have a broad understanding of it. And our staff, again, we have some people who lean more towards that specialism. But it's better not to be a specialist agency when you're communicating, in my opinion, because it's about cutting through the jargon that people use internally and making that story interesting, relevant, and inspiring to an audience. And that audience isn't always deep within your same niche. And even if it is, it's good for them to have it unpackaged differently and explained to them in a different way, through video, through print, through podcasting, or through whatever it might be. So it gives you the opportunity to kind of go, right, okay, then you're a client involved in the, I don't know, agricultural sector. I have no preconceived ideas about how that story should be told. But I go, well, what are your objectives? What are your business goals? What are your political goals? What are your advocacy goals? And then we'll go, right, okay, well, therefore, here is your segmented kind of audience. And here is a story for each of them that will get under their skin. And here's how we take it to them in order to achieve those goals that you set out. You can do that when you're not a specialist, when you are a storyteller with great effect. I think that if you specialize, you have the curse of knowledge sometimes. And the curse of knowledge means that you know something, so you assume everyone else knows it. And you speak in terms that isn't accessible to the audience. I like the fact that we're quite generalist with, I mean, we have certain areas that we're very strong in, sport being one of them. We do an awful lot in the area of sport communications, entertainment, hospitality, destination. But corporate comms also spans all of those and many, many, many more. So, that's about where we're at.
But at the end of the day, you're a storyteller.
Yeah.
Is that not your specialty? Do you not consider yourself being a very good, very, very good, clearly, storyteller, and that is your unique specialty? And the industry, nobody cares what industry it is, because at the end of it, this is what you do. You tell a story in a simple manner.
Yeah. Well, that's I suppose that's the pitch to clients and prospective clients, that we can always do a job for them, and that's right at the center of it. I mean, every 7 Media office in the region, as let us tell your story, is the kind of on every wall, and it's a reminder that that's at the heart of everything, because it's quite easy to get lost in new tech, in the mechanisms of SEO, of programmatic and all of that kind of thing. But even those kind of digital tools, they're only conduits through which to take a story to an audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people get sometimes lost in data, they get lost in the mechanism. And I always think that if you've got the story right, you know what your audience is going to do in the 5 seconds after they've consumed that piece of content. And that's really important to always keep that in mind. When you talk to people, specialist digital marketeers, they're just talking numbers and they get lost in that. And what they don't talk about is human psychology, behavioral science, and what makes people tick and impact after you've done it. You're talking numbers all the time. And I prefer to talk in stories and what stories do to move your target audience, target customers, partners, or stakeholders, or whatever they may be.
Much better sell, much more difficult to price or benchmark when you're talking stories instead of numbers, because the numbers are, these are your numbers, your shit. These are your numbers, I prefer to work with you. Whereas giving a story, positioning the way that you are positioning yourself, which in my opinion is the right way, is a much simpler pitch to somebody, I guess, from your side.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you look at how we evolved as humans, when we started walking on our hind legs and then we started congregating in communities, the way we got people to buy into shared beliefs was through storytelling. That can be through religion, through money, through whatever those things are. These are all belief systems that have been instilled through repeated storytelling. It's as basic as, if you want to keep 1,000 people together in one community, so to keep, farming and growing crops and sharing properly, you need 10 commandments, or you need rules. Then you need consequences for those rules. So what's the punishment? Or if you leave this community, there's danger over those hills. There's dragons that live over there. So storytelling is something that has been there since we developed language. And that is a through line through everything. I think you talked about the numbers, and people can have better numbers than other people, but ultimately those tools are so democratized that anybody can do it. So with a certain amount of spend on Meta or on through a Google platform or search, that you can hit X number of people. That's just a fact. But what you're hitting them with is the thing that matters, or it's those two things combined. So you've got to marry those two pieces of expertise. But yeah, storytelling really, for me, sits at the heart of everything.
It's great philosophy, specifically for somebody who has a communication and PR company.
Indeed.
It makes a lot of sense. So when you first started, I'm guessing you were in the national, you moved, heard the story, you had a pint, and you went, let's do this.
Yeah, that was about
No business plan, no financials, no nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a loose business plan. I'm not from a background of business. I wasn't from a background of PR or that kind of communications agency. So I had no preconception about how that had to work. And that gives you freedom to just go, okay, then, well, what do we think the problem is that we're solving here, and how do we solve it? We've got these core skills. How do we use them to take us from there to there? So we were able to kind of rewrite the blueprint, I guess. We knew, look, ultimately, you have to bring in more money than you spend, right? And that
Simple math.
it's not rocket science, this stuff. And the business plan for a service-based offering like that, it was fairly straightforward at the time. It's evolved into something much different and much bigger with multiple different revenue streams. But it was quite simple. People paid us a consultancy fee. We got them results. You need to make a margin on everything you do. You need to not overinvest. We used freelance to prop up a little bit to do some of the execution and delivery until we were comfortable that that revenue was growing and stable. So we always worked really hard to make more and deliver on it by bringing ourselves to our knees, and only then bring in additional resource to kind of ease the pressure. And we just did that over and over again. I don't know whether that's a business plan or not.
Well, it's called the lean model. I'm sure there's a business book about this model somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this sounds very simple and straightforward. From my experience, nothing is simple and straightforward when you're starting business from scratch and you have no money.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. Do you think that what you have accomplished here in the UAE right now, and even those starting blocks at starting time, would have that been possible to do the same thing in the UK?
I always say I don't think so. I think if we'd have tried to start the same company at the same time in London, no, it would be hard. But this was an emerging economy, and we kind of grew with the nation. When we launched Seven Media, we were the first independent company of its kind to get our license and work in 2454, which is Abu Dhabi's media free zone. So we very much nailed ourselves to the kind of growth story. Abu Dhabi was our kind of spiritual home, as it were, but the UAE and Abu Dhabi are very much combined. Abu Dhabi being the capital. Almost regardless of what you do, you're governed by the environment within which you're working. What does the market look like? Is it saturation? Are you solving a problem that exists? If it was to do it in London, I'd be solving a problem that didn't really exist. So yeah, I don't think you can really compare the two. The timing, I don't know. The timing, some people thought it was crazy to launch a company while the sharp effect of the global financial crisis was still being felt. But I felt that allowed us to ride with the wave of recovery and growth that the UAE enjoyed, and tell a very good story along the way.
So you do think that the UAE has, because they've been on an upward trajectory for maybe since the financial crisis, the subprime, they recovered and they went like this. This has a big impact in how your business has developed here, right?
Yeah.
And I myself came from France, came here. I was just working as a real estate guy here, but I became a banker here.
Yeah.
That jump for me would have been impossible in France.
Yeah.
They would have said, sorry, you have to wait for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then if he dies, then you can get the job.
Yeah.
Here, open. You want to work, you're smart, you can read, you can write. Can you do long hours? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
You will learn on the job.
Yeah.
We will teach you everything. You will learn on the job. Go now. This was in 14. I don't know about right now in this industry, in this market that we're in 10, 11 years later. But at that time, it was just come here, get to work. Something will work out if you're a hard worker. I don't think maybe in Europe we don't really have the same mentality, or at least from my experience, from my European experience. Do you think this mentality now is going to push? I think it's still here. I think we're still in that spirit of work hard, get the money, get the success.
Yeah.
Do you think we still have a runway like this in the UAE, in the Middle East in general?
Yeah, I think it continues to grow. The UAE specifically, as we're talking about, has shown its kind of resilience, its bounce back ability. The country itself has not been perfect since there have been very serious challenges that they've managed to overcome along the way. Where we are now, you only have to look at where we're going with everything around Dubai South, the relocation of Dubai Airport, the major deals with the US on AI and some of the hardware that goes into that, and That proves as well, by the way, that AI deal. You're trusting the UAE with a lot of very, very sensitive data, which is another proof point that the UAE is a highly trusted partner nation state. It's not always been that.
No,
Sometimes it was looked on with distrust from America, but they worked really hard to get there. More and more and more doors are opening. That kind of UAE's place in the world is forever being solidified. There's constant innovation. There's constant development, and the projections by 2050 and all of the indicators would give us reason to believe that we're moving in that direction for many, many years to come.
yeah, as you said, having something from the likes of $1 billion to $10 billion invested in AI, getting chips from NVIDIA, which nobody can get normally, getting Sam Altman to go, yeah, we will use this. This is great. Let's do it. And Abu Dhabi building a small Monaco of data centers. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's to the testament, as you said, of the UAE and the leadership here of how they have been playing chess with these 10, 20 years that they have been planning and executing their plans, starting with Sheikh Zayed, who founded the nation. I think it's incredible leadership and vision to execute at that scale with such a small nation over 30 to 50 years is incredible. And they saw this. There's a plan. It's not random. And maybe it's also because leadership doesn't change.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. I think there's no one competing with each other and trying to get one up over, when you have the multi-party approach with polarized views, people end up arguing over inconsequential things. Opportunities get lost. There's a sort of race to the bottom. Whereas here, there has been what you would call a smart vision and a single-minded idea of how they're going to get there. It's unwavering. So I think that really sets the UAE apart. And I think the fact that it doesn't chop and change, it means that there's absolute consistency and that the plan can be, if you look further back even to the quotes that people often say from Sheikh Zayed, just look at some of them and they're like almost prophecies that are coming true now, or certainly visions that he had that are held true, and no one's deviated from the basic principles of what was laid out many, many, many years ago. So yeah, I do think that consistency of approach is a huge part of it.
Referencing the vision, how do you set vision for your company? How do you, not that I've had a very successful time in putting culture in here, but I am trying right now to just have only 8 players that I pay very well. I have the same culture, the people that you have seen, that we know. I want to bring 8 players because I have fun with 8 players. It's cool to work with them. It's no longer a job. You're here, you're having fun. Yes, it's hard. Of course, work is work. But there's a culture of I want to get it. I want to perform. How do you set that up in this? Because you have a lot of people. I don't have. We have like 10, 20 people here, and then the rest of us are remote. But you have 120 people.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
And a lot of them do very different things from each other, right? So, but it's really about educating people about what is the common goal, and it's just setting at the front end, going, what do we stand for? What are we? What's our purpose? What are we for? As a company, as an organization, and you build everything around that and be really quite single-minded about it. Then the kind of energy that you give as an owner like you, Peter, and as a founder, then threads right through the agency. So people can come and people can go, but you've always kind of got that through line. Somebody who, is an artistic animator and someone who's a, corporate comms advocate are very different types of people. And it would be very easy, by the way, for those people just to work in their own isolated unit. But what I find important is making people know together, with all of the different powers that we put together, Seven Media is much stronger than the sum of its parts. So I think it's really just about making sure that people know what they're part of, what the purpose of their hard work is, and telling them of celebrating small, medium-sized and large results, not sweating the small stuff, offering support, guidance, people standing shoulder to shoulder, encouraging people to cover for each other when things go wrong. Don't have a blame culture. You want to catch people. We've got a big account, which probably involves about 8 people almost full time at the moment. It's a big Dubai government one. And I went out for lunch with the people who run that, but they're vastly different. There's a photographer, there's a strategist. They're all from different nations and all from different places. There's an animator, a couple of videographers, somebody who does paid spend on social media. Now, they're all quite different characters. And it would be very easy for them, if something's gone wrong with a piece of creative, that the account manager blames the creative. But my view of that is, on this particular job that we're on now, you're all together accountable. If something drops, you could have caught them, you could have saved them. So you're all collectively responsible for its success or failure. And I'd much rather we were going out and at the end of the quarter or the end of the month or the end of the onboarding period, celebrating together rather than more difficult conversations. So I think collective responsibility helps, and a spirit where people feel like a team and are treated as such.
That's what I like to refer to as extreme ownership. Like, you're not only owning your KPI or whatever your goal is, you're also responsible for the overall success of the company in general.
Yeah.
And if you see something going wrong, I don't know, the guest comes into the office, he's lost because the receptionist is, I don't know, in the bathroom. Come, say hello.
Yeah,
Give it a
absolutely.
second. Do you want some coffee?
Yeah.
I'll go do coffee myself. I don't have an issue with that. But it's giving that understanding. Do you have anything like there's some large businesses that have these big onboarding packs. They send you 3 books, a t-shirt, a laptop, a phone, and then these are our mottos. This is what you need to do. But do you have something like similar to that?
I mean, I think there is. There's onboarding things with HR and all of that kind of thing. But it really is encouraged when there's a new person. I also think, by the way, they get assigned with a kind of buddy who is one of their peers who's responsible just to hang out with them for the first few days. But really, it's up to everyone to sort of help, right?
I mean, you say that it's simple. There are so many businesses that do this wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think you believe that it's just because
But
you are like this.
I think then those businesses would tend to be, and I've been places before where even clients that I've been to and I've had to walk through their main offices to get to meet the CEO or whatever, and like they've got like people sitting in cubicles, not happy, not collaborating, waiting till it's time to go home. There was one person who told me that their organisation, the previous organisation they used to work at, every day when they finished work and they went to bed, they went, God, thank God nothing was my fault today.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, what? Just an awful, awful place to be. And so I think if people have got pride and freedom and within parameters, you can't be anarchy, but people are much more likely to then share with others because they're not protective of their own little part of it. So next week I'm going to take out for a dinner a group of people from our overall production team.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've done it, and I will genuinely get their feedback on how are we doing. Do we need different studio space? I've noticed a couple of things. What about equipment? What about ways of working? Genuinely give everyone a voice. And then I'll go to the managing director of that production team. That was smart. You've got to make 2 or 3 of those things happen so that they see their ideas actually come to fruition. Where you've got young people who, Gen Z crew, who could just be kind of ignored or stifled. If they come up with an idea, you've got to go, we will support you to run with it with the right guidance from seniors and from people who've done it many times over. But let's make your thing come real. And that's what creates culture, I think. It's all those things that I was talking about, because then you've got happy people who feel that they are part of something and that their contributions are positive. That's what I always say. If people know why they're doing something, what the kind of greater good is, what they're part of, then they'll do it an awful lot better than if you just tell them, you do that because that's your job.
Do you take out some people for dinner and lunches within the company on a regular basis?
I tend to have just personally as a owner, founder, I kind of, I'm a little bit removed, and that's quite right. You don't want to poke your nose into everything, but I think I show the right level of interest because, and I think it's apparent that I'm genuinely interested as well. So when you've got that, then people again feel, oh God, right, okay, he knows about all of this stuff, and I do, but I get briefed off a smaller number of people. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you've got to have enough touch points, but without having too many. I think you can be all over stuff. I don't know whether you watch Below Deck, which is a reality TV show about working on super yachts. But there's one of the captains called Captain Lee, who I think is he's an excellent leader. And then when they have other captains on board, the same crew absolutely go to pieces. But Captain Lee has got these excellent light touch leadership skills.
Do you consider yourself a Captain Lee?
Maybe I do think I think I'm a good manager of people because I care about people. I look at leaders. I don't know whether you've read Alex Ferguson's book on management, and he did a talk at Harvard Business School about how he manages difficult players, how he manages finances, manages all the stakeholders with the club, the sponsors, how he manages up to owners, how he manages to identify with even the groundsmen and the people who keep things going. It's really masterclass of how to manage people with some really interesting anecdotes from within. But I'm interested in that. I also think it's all about storytelling. It's all a little bit of kind of psychology and what motivates people and what makes people tick and what makes people want to be part of something. It's kind of, it's all part of the same thing, I suppose.
What a great specialty you have. You can apply it everywhere, inside your business, outside your business.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
It's very, very, very interesting. Some people here who are in the UAE, who are business owners or who want to become business owners, are a bit afraid of how to hire people. There's so many people. It's such a transient place. People come, people go, high salaries. People jump from one salary to another just because it's an increment of $1,000. So, every other year, every other 2 years. What have you done to be able to hire great people and for them to stay with you? Well, is there a process? How do you hire people?
We've never used recruitment companies.
No.
Never, ever, ever. I'm a believer that within literally 5 minutes of meeting somebody whether they're going to be a good fit.
I think so too.
But often word of mouth. Often I would ask. I'd sooner get staff members to find out friends, former colleagues, someone that they vouch for, someone that they gelled with, someone who has proof points of working as part of the team. Because I can say to them, well, are they 7Media people? And everyone knows what that means, by the way. Because we have, of course, made mistakes in hiring before. The biggest complaint about people when people say, look, that this person, they're not going to make it long haul with us. And I'll say, why? What have they done? And the answer is always, they're just not very 7Media, which is a really interesting thing that the staff go around saying. And it's such an intangible and weird thing to say, isn't it? But I'd sooner that people identified people themselves, brought them to the table, hired them. Much more comfortable than sending out a job advert, getting people to do written tests or, multiple rounds of interviews. I always find that a waste of time anyway. It's like, I'd rather have recommendations and a good idea that someone can deliver, and then a sense check on whether they're a decent human and a good fit, which I think can be done really quickly. I find it baffling that people go through job interviews that are 4 rounds and have all these different tests and everything. As a leader, can you not really tell pretty quick whether someone's going to be good or not,
Do you still participate in some of the interviews?
Rarely, but yes, I don't know. Yesterday I was at a conference and I met somebody and I thought, oh, they'll be a good fit for a job in the future, and I'll pass them on to somebody, and I might, if I'm around, I might pop my head in and say hello when that first meeting takes place. But yeah, no, I don't feel like I need to. You shouldn't be hiring everybody because I don't have to work with it. It's not me that has to work with it. As long as the people that are hired understand what we're all about and what the expectations are.
You bring them because of culture. They stay because of culture. You have culture because you're a specialist storyteller.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I think that's probably about it.
We touched upon technology for a brief second and AI coming here and so on. It's obviously ramping up quite quickly right now, going super fast. I see it in my work. I'm looking at some of my colleagues and competitors and going, "Ooh, guys, you don't have a lot of time left. Because if you continue doing this average job, I can already see ChatGPT doing it better than you. You are going to have to level up quite quickly in marketing, social media, in copy, even in design work. Do you think AI is going to take over partial bits and pieces, potentially make it way more efficient to work with just one person who knows AI and has all the tools and has the right vision, just goes, okay, here we go, like somebody leading an orchestra? Or do you still think we'll need the amount of people that we have in the industry right now?
I think you'll always need people, full stop. I was actually, the conference that I was at yesterday, I was on a panel speaking about the AI and the
Oh,
future of the PR
I'm sorry,
industry.
I don't want to bore you if you don't want to do
No,
it again.
no, no. But weirdly, one of the things that I thought was, and I said, people are obsessed by this conversation. And, you know, everything you mentioned there was generative AI. Well, ChatGPT has been around for 3 years and OpenAI many years before. I've been using AI one way or another for probably 10 years, right? For some things around data and all of this stuff. And people are petrified of it. But I don't know, we handled the digital revolution, the social revolution in marketing. We handled the .com, the digitization of media, moved to 24/7 online news, that how to harness all of those things in marketing, and we'll harness AI as well. And it's already started. Like about a year ago, somebody suggested at Seven Media that we have a group of people from each sort of team, and they become a bit of an AI focus group about how we should and shouldn't use AI for best practice, for efficiency, to sometimes to do the boring stuff, so the people, the humans, can do the stuff that they're best at. But what I found was that even before the focus group, bless them, reported back, everyone was already using bits in their own way. So everyone's kind of starting to, it's already starting, and I think it'll evolve with us, and we will use parts of it, discard other parts. I think that in PR, in media, you've got to have the innate human stuff. There's no way AI can't walk into a majlis in Abu Dhabi and look someone in the eye, read the room, and respectfully pitch an idea. It can't replicate so many different things of human interaction. And I think that we'll end up coming full circle, because AI will be used as a tool, a really cool and valuable tool. But I think people will also really value the human stuff. You don't want to lose it. So I think you might end up with a situation where you have some agencies who are more AI, but they won't get chosen because you want the human side of things. It's like, yeah, I don't know. There's so many different things. People don't like AI generated stuff. Now, clients don't like it, and audiences certainly don't. If I took you to an art gallery and I showed you a painting and said, this was done by a Danish painter whose mother did X, Y, and Z, and this is what inspired him, you'd go, wow. If I showed you the same thing and went, yeah, this was done by AI, you'd go, oh, it'd leave you cold. So people don't want to consume the AI slop. They really don't. People want to consume things made thoughtfully by other humans. And it's a bit of a gimmick at times, like the AI chef. It's kind of funny and everything, you know, like, but, you know, there was a campaign over the summer for Brands for Less that was done solely using AI, from the models to the shoot to the copy to absolutely everything. Was it creatively brilliant? No, not at all. But it was fun. It was a good talking point. Oh, look what AI did. And it got them some PR on the back of it. So AI will thread through everything, just like the internet did, just like paid versus earned media pivoted, and just like we now, you know, like the skills of video production have been democratized. It used to be cost you $1 million to make a bloody TV commercial. Well, now you can produce something using Sony FX with different range of lenses of a similar-ish quality for, you know, I don't know, 5% of the price. The world changes. We get given tools. Those who embrace them and use them will continue to kick forward. But you always need people at the heart of it.
I agree with you on the tools part. I might disagree a tiny bit on the AI part, because For the moment, yes, I agree that tools, AI is not going to replace anybody for the foreseeable future. However, once it starts iterating itself on its own and we don't even understand what the hell is happening in the next model of ChatGPT and the guys who's pressing the buttons going, I didn't press the button. We're on a new model, and in a new model, I still didn't press the button.
Yeah.
We go into a space where we have, as a collective humanity, never been before, because we are slowly starting to potentially, from my understanding at least of all the experts and fascinating podcasts that I listen to, that we're going to a consciousness and potentially creating something that has its own opinion the same way that we have our own opinion. And at that point in time, it's Terra Nova. This we have never been here before. So while for the moment we're not there, if we do reach that point, sort of like what are we creating? Everything, all human knowledge and consciousness, all in one single pot let's say on a button available to you? Or will it be our master, or will we be able to master it?
Yeah.
I think it's exciting.
Well, if you go, even in the Museum of the Future, they've got on display the brain chip, haven't they, where you can, you can harness the power of all of the data that is available to us via, collective consciousness on the internet. But the interface is going to be is much quicker. You can process things into your brain and then out of your mouth.
Integration.
And vice versa. And then, I don't know, will human consciousness become one cloud-based homogeneous mass? I'm not going to worry about it too much, Peter.
Yeah.
I think I've got...
You and I will go have a pint and discuss it later on. No, but for sure. But it's fascinating because we are in it's changing so fast.
Yeah.
Everything is changing so fast. I use ChatGPT on a daily basis. I have my private ChatGPT. I have a version of it that is on my own database, because we do a lot of corporate services, legal stuff and tax stuff. So I don't want to manage that stuff on ChatGPT. I want to manage it on my own database, and it helps a lot. It helps a lot to do, as you said, the boring stuff.
Yeah.
To get out of the stuff, to be able to tell, well, I need this, I need this, I need this, and it will go search, provide you with an answer that you can humanly understand. And that saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
And some professions, I think, specifically, as I said, those that are average at it, they will disappear. There will be only competition will only be at this level, because everybody will have average already, or good because they have AI, and now you'll only be working with people who are excellent, which is good for people in general, I think.
Yeah. I suppose, how do you get to be excellent if you've not done the hard yard of the work that is the labor work, or the bit where you
the
grit your
grunt work,
teeth, right? So you either have you have machines doing that, and then you have no one going through the ranks and really earning their stripes, yet you expect them to be up there. So I don't know what that journey will look like.
That is a paradox, not for us, but for our kids. So I was reading your LinkedIn post on Charlie Morgan, who had this experience where I made so much money in the UAE, but I don't really like it.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little bit funny. You came here, you made a lot of money, but you still don't like the place. Just that perspective. Then, of course, I went a little bit deeper. Talks about a few cons and pros and cons of the UAE. I definitely think they exist, as everywhere.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, there are so many more pros than cons.
Yeah.
And I think you touched upon something in your post. Show me which community you were in, and I will show you why you didn't like it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. You are who you hang out with. If you go and seek them out, you'll find a load of tossers. If you want to hang out with them, great. But then you won't be supported, and you won't feel part of something. So no, look, I think it's one of the things that the UAE, it would have been a challenge for them. The first 50 years was all about setting themselves up for economic diversification, building something, putting themselves on the map geopolitically. And I think that this year is called the Year of Community. The last few years have been the Year of Tolerance, and we did a campaign around the Special Olympics, which is people with intellectual disabilities and inclusion and inclusivity and all of those things. I can feel the UAE going for the next 50. How do we create community? How do we create sustainable, livable communities which are tolerant, that are inclusive, that don't ghettoize people in certain different neighborhoods, but bring people together and create that kind of human connectivity? So I feel like they're working on it. And, if some areas still feel a little sterile, they're a work in progress. A lot of countries, like, France had centuries and centuries and centuries to get it right. And still, there are imperfections.
Oh, for sure.
This place has had 50 years, enjoy it, work together, but give them a bit of a break. The good is better than the bad by a long, long way.
By a mile, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm particularly triggered by people who say there's no soul in Dubai or in the UAE. There's no history. Mate, they're building the history. You are witnessing them building the tallest tower in the world.
Yeah.
How is that not history for you?
Well,
I don't
history
get
is
it.
being made, isn't it? But also, like, I don't know how far back do they want to go into history. I mean, there actually is a pretty solid history of this country and this region, and the Confederation of Banias tribes and all of the different elements of things. It makes me laugh as well. People go that there's you can't really go to a museum and all this kind of thing, right? Well, A, you sort of can, but B, ask that person from England or from France or wherever, when was the last time you went to a museum in England? Bet they've never been to one. Honestly, people just say stuff and they don't really mean it, and you shouldn't get triggered. You should just let it all go, because the proof is in the pudding, as they say, and great things are happening here, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. What are the next steps for you, 7 Media, and in general? Obviously, you're an owner now, founder, not CEO. It's a different ballgame entirely. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
What's next?
I have to keep myself interested, so it's brand extensions. I think that some proprietary digital platforms will be on the cards. I'm looking to privately invest into AI venture, but it's one that would plug into the events side of what Seven does. So it's all different stuff, but within the same, the same sphere. We are launching, I've never told anyone this actually, but we're going to launch 7 Media International with a managing partner who's a guy that I've known for many years, an excellent operator with a couple of decades experience in the States, a decade in the UK, and he's going to build our global international network out of London, do domestic European work from there, but also service our Middle Eastern clients to get them coverage and exposure in Europe and in the States. But also there's a business development perspective that we can get European and American clients that, of course, require work and amplification in the UAE and Saudi. We haven't even touched upon Saudi. Saudi is an area that we've had a presence there for years. But it's a reasonably small office in Riyadh, and we're doing some additional investment there now and redoubling some efforts. Saudi continues to develop. Yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of kind of new initiatives, new enterprises, and enough to keep me interested.
Is that what keeps you going? Interesting.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think even if you look at the way I live life, I'm a resident and based here in the UAE. That's where business is. But I have my holiday home in Norway, regularly back in the UK. So I'm not a person who sits still for very long. In business, you would be stupid to not do stuff that complements your core business. I think sometimes entrepreneurs think that they can just do anything because they've done one thing. So they'll jump between F&B to tech to media to whatever, right? I think you've got to have a core that sits at the heart of everything. Now, some people just are excellent entrepreneurs and investors, and everything they touch turns to gold. But for me, I like to be in my kind of core comfort zone and then innovate in areas that are at least in some way related to it. But yeah, I like variety. I like dynamism. I like change. I like innovation. Yeah, and that's what keeps me going.
You're driven by your own self-interest on making your life interesting by creating new things within the scope of your group.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
It's also interesting how now if before companies used to be headquartered somewhere, London, New York, you're not doing the reverse. You're headquartered here and you're going there as a subsegment of your business.
Yeah, and the world's becoming a smaller place at the same time. Like, you know, we fight against networked agencies with 100,000 staff and 50 global offices. You can do it a bit better now than you used to be able to because of the global connectivity. And, you know, we can easily mobilize people to do an on-the-ground 2-week campaign, and the people we know, trust in wherever, choose a place, Germany or whatever. But it needs to be run as a business, as a standalone business out of, it'll be incorporated as a LLC in the UK, and yeah, and make a good go at that as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I've got a lot. I've got a lot of my wife, who you've met. Lucy, she often tells me, can you just pick 2 or 3 things and just focus on those, because, you know, I'm meeting John after this, the founder and presenter of the Final Pitch reality TV show. We're already talking about doing season 2. And
Did you finish season 1?
Season 1 is in post-production now. It will go on air in Q4. The exact airing date's not been confirmed, but it will be on OSN and OSN Plus, and it will be November, I believe, but I don't know the exact date.
How'd it go?
Filming good. It's good entertainment. It's good. It's, you know, it's fun. It's good, and it has I think actually as a piece of TV, this business reality TV show maps quite well to what Dubai is trying to do. But we're also looking at the Final Pitch, the second season in Dubai, and then Final Pitch at Abu Dhabi, possibly Doha, Riyadh, Jeddah. Different cities, because the blueprint can be taken around all different places.
Yeah, this is a blueprint that hasn't existed for a while.
In Asia. So yeah, but also the Final Pitch itself ran for 11 seasons on CNN Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's got a proof point as well that it works as on a very serious network. Here, I think that the production values can be leveled up a little bit, and but it's super exciting. But as I say, I've got a lot going on. But I enjoy it. I like it. I like to keep myself busy. I like to keep involved in stuff, and it keeps me going.
Did the AI investment startup, was that from the Final Pitch that you met, or no?
No, through a friend. Yeah, I've not done it yet, but it's something that I'm looking at. Yeah, look, there's loads of stuff. But I do think, you know, to your point earlier, if I stayed in the UK, particularly in my hometown, which I can't see me being there, but these opportunities don't come across your desk, or you don't hear about them, or you're not socializing with the sort of people who are behind them. So it becomes easier to attract opportunities. And I also think that the more energy you have, the more you put out into the world, the more things you say yes to and get involved with, then the more opportunities come back in. If you get lazy, you get lonely. And if you get lonely, you get lazy, you know, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to connect with humans, not AI, humans. And then opportunities will arise. And then it's all about what you do with that opportunity. Have you got the balls? Have you got the energy, the skills? Yeah.
Do you see yourself staying here for longer in the UAE as your principal place of residence, which is sort of a theme? People come here and they move back to the UK. Do you see yourself moving back to the UK?
I don't see myself moving back to the UK.
Why not?
I'm pretty settled here. I've been here 17 years now. We have a good life with me and the kids, and we have quite this international existence. People always talk about going home, or where are they going to end up? What does that mean? Where are you going to die? Is that what it means? Like, I don't know. I think, you know, the world is a small place. We can be on a flight to anywhere. This is a strong place to live, exist, a great place to trade from and do business. When my kids are here, they absolutely love it. There's all the different sports and all the stuff that we do and get involved in. Great jump off point to go on holidays or fly and do business wherever I want. So I'm never entirely sure why people go, but where am I going to end up? You know, what graveyard what country is my graveyard going to be in? I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter. Throw me out of a plane, maybe.
So there's no plan of retirement for you, not really?
No, and I don't know whether I would like to be retired. You know, like, what do you do then? You get an allotment and, you know, plant tomatoes or something. I'd like to.
Is that your view of
I just-
retirement? So people say Thailand, beaches, Muay
Like,
Thai,
where
they're
I-
talking tomatoes.
It's where I'm from, you know, a pint of bitter at lunchtime and then tend to your allotment in the afternoon and then watch Coronation Street and then go to sleep. But no, like, I'm thinking of maybe my own grandparents. I don't know, retirement, what for? Like, what do you do? Like, I mean, like, for me, you know, there might be a time where multiple different things that you have set off work autonomously and you can just dip in and out and maybe do a passion project. That would be retirement for me, I suppose, you know, whatever it is. But I'm already doing that. I'm writing a book at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, called The Real Rules of Influence. And it's basically about how you influence people, how PR and marketing and storytelling, most importantly, can influence people. And it starts with the start of my career, which is the Gangsters of Liverpool, how they use influence. And they actually use some pretty traditional PR tactics like CSR, right? They do things like help communities so people don't like tell on them, and they they're extremely good at manipulating the media. And when I was the crime reporter, I was effectively a mouthpiece for criminal families. If they called me, we'd put their story out. It was a matter of timing. They were in trouble with the police, but they were able to use PR, right, and storytelling to influence the court of public opinion. So it starts with PR, it then goes on to launching the national and the, you know, brand UAE. I was probably had a front row seat to the biggest global influence campaign the world has ever seen, which was the UAE putting itself on the map. And then it talks about PR and building the company, digital marketing. So it's like personal anecdotes, but with wider messages and key takeaways for people who might be interested in the way the world of PR and influence works, or be CEOs or people in marketing who can have a practical usage for the information that I will be sharing in the book.
What prompted you to start? This is an endeavor. Writing a book is not easy. What was the moment you said, I need to write this down?
I've always fancied, I don't know, I'm probably quite ego-driven as well, but
for sure, you're a business owner.
I've kind of always had it in my head that I'd like to do something. You think you should record all these things, but I think I've had a career of whatever it is now, 25, 30 years, that I feel like I've sort of earned the right and I've got the breadth of experience that I can share it. So the stuff I was talking about earlier with the crime reporting and the criminals and criminal gangs using marketing and PR techniques. Well, I didn't realize that at the time. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
But it's now I've done what I've done and where I am at the, you know, in my late 40s, that can recognize all that and piece it together as how the world of influence and PR and storytelling converge, and what the kind of practical application of those things is across all walks of life.
I look forward to reading the book whenever it's out. I'm definitely going to need to use it if I want to get to your level at social media. Greg, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much,
lovely,
mate.
lovely podcast. Lovely to hear about your story. You're a lovely, humble, good human being. Very, very, very decent title play as well. I'm really happy to say that. And if people want to learn more about what you do, you have a website, personal website, or should they refer to Seven Media? Where do we find you?
Probably Seven Media is the best way, or they can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm the only Gregg Fray in the world, so if you look at GREGGFRAY on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or you Google it, you'll only find me. There is no other. One of a kind.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Cheers, mate. Thank you.